Jose Mourinho has just made a huge announcement about Michael Olise, and it's sending the football world into a frenzy. After reportedly speaking with the Bayern star, Mourinho now believes Olise is open to a move to Real Madrid. But that's only part of what he revealed. Let me break it down. Jose Mourinho, incoming head coach of Real Madrid, showed up to the DFB Pokal final in Berlin, specifically to watch Michael Olise play in person, per Sky Germany journalist Florian Plettenberg, who captured Mourinho leaving his hotel toward the stadium. That alone sent every football forum on the internet into meltdown, because this wasn't a casual visit. This was a statement. According to Sky Sports, Mourinho was seen leaving the Hotel Adlon Kempinski in Berlin on a Saturday afternoon, dressed in a blue cap and a casual shirt, making his way to the Olympia Stadion, reportedly there to witness the DFB Pokal final between Bayern Munich and Stuttgart, a visit that immediately fueled talk about his summer transfer plans, as he prepares to take over as Real Madrid boss, and the man he was there to see. Bayern Munich won that final 3-0, and Olise had an assist, right there in front of Mourinho's eyes. He got exactly what he came for. Shortly after, Jose Mourinho made it clear to Real Madrid that he wants Michael Olise. That's the announcement. Mourinho personally co-signed this transfer. The special one didn't just observe from a distance. He came back to Real Madrid's hierarchy and essentially put Olise's name at the very top of the list. Now, according to AS, although Real Madrid stated in an official announcement that they have not yet sent an offer for the player, Jose Mourinho is personally a supporter of this transfer. That gap between the public statement and the private reality is exactly where all the action lives. Fabrizio Romano reported that Florentino Perez is convinced that for the system Mourinho wants to use at Real Madrid, adding a player like Olise could be really important, and that the feeling internally at the club is that with Mbappe, Vinicius, and Olise, Real Madrid would have the best attack in the world. So Mourinho goes to Berlin. He watches Olise. He comes back. He tells Madrid he wants him. And then Olise. He has so far remained silent on his future. That silence has created a sense of unease in Munich, as they await the moment the World Cup curtain falls, to engage in what could be the most pivotal negotiations of their summer window. The manager flying to Germany to scout a player, then publicly backing that player as his #1 attacking target. That's not noise. That's a declaration. And the fact that Olise has not come out and shut it down, that's a declaration too. According to AS, Olise has communicated his desire to hold a sit-down meeting with Bayern Munich leadership to determine his next steps. He's not just passively letting this unfold. He's driving the conversation. He wants answers. And that matters enormously, because it means he's at least entertaining the idea that his answers might lead him somewhere other than Munich. There are rumors he'd like to make a transfer, and that Real Madrid is the club he should be dreaming of. Olise doesn't talk much, so you never know if the rumors are true, but the people who are talking are supposedly really close to him. Mourinho made his move. Olise is listening, and everything that comes next flows from that moment in Berlin. To understand why Mourinho flew to Germany, just to sit in a VIP box and watch one man play football, you have to understand exactly what Michael Olise has become over the last 2 years. Michael Olise was born on 12 December 2001 in White City, London. Raised in Hayes to a British-Nigerian father and a Franco-Algerian mother. That background split between cultures, between countries, shaped everything about how he plays. He's not English, not quite French in the traditional mold, not what anyone expected. And that's precisely what makes him impossible to pin down on a football pitch. The product of various English academies, Olise made his professional debut for Championship club Reading. In 2021, he was signed by Crystal Palace, where he spent 3 seasons and was nominated for PFA Young Player of the Year. In 2024, before moving to Bayern Munich, the move to Bavaria cost Bayern €60 million, on a 5-year contract running through to June 2029. At the time, some questioned whether a player who'd spent most of his career in the Championship and lower half Premier League could handle the Bundesliga's intensity. The Champions League pressure, the weight of expectation at one of the world's biggest clubs. He answered that question immediately. He concluded his debut season with 12 goals and 15 assists, ending as the Bundesliga's top assist provider, earning a spot in the 2024-25 Bundesliga Team of the Season, as well as the league's Rookie of the Season award. Then he came back the following year and did it even better. The Frenchman racked up 15 goals and a league-high 19 assists, on his way to claiming Player of the Season honors, sitting in the top 10 for several other metrics, including shots, sprints, and intensive runs per 90 minutes, while registering 15 goal involvements in the UEFA Champions League and DFB Cup combined. That's across all competitions. Real Madrid are not alone in their pursuit, especially after Olise enjoyed a stunning 2025-26 season with Bayern Munich, scoring 22 goals and providing 31 assists in 52 appearances across all competitions. And it wasn't just the numbers that turned heads. It was how he did it. The tricky winger has an air of calmness every time he takes to the field, seemingly breezing past opponents with ease. And not just in the Bundesliga. Olise wreaked havoc on Bayern's right in the UEFA Champions League, scoring 4 goals and providing 7 assists to help fire the Bavarians into the semifinals. Those Champions League nights are where the Real Madrid obsession truly began. Olise carved up Real Madrid in the Champions League quarterfinals and earned himself the top spot on Florentino Perez's dream target list. Perez watched Olise dismantle his own team's defense, and instead of anger, he felt something closer to infatuation. He wanted that player. Fabrizio Romano claimed that Perez fell in love with Olise when Los Blancos faced Bayern in the Champions League quarterfinals. And then Olise carried that form straight into the 2026 World Cup. After a hat-trick against Northern Ireland in a warm-up friendly, he carried that momentum into the tournament itself. After 2 group games, he led the competition's assist chart with 3, setting up 1 goal in the opening 3-1 win over Senegal, and creating 2 in the 3-0 victory against Iraq. Olise has emerged as one of the standout performers of the World Cup, cementing his status as one of global football's elite talents. This is the player Mourinho watched that evening in Berlin. This is the player he flew back and told Real Madrid he wants. When you see the full picture of what Olise is, the trip to Germany stops looking like curiosity and starts looking like a scouting mission with a foregone conclusion. Bayern Munich's response to all of this has been loud, defiant, and if you read between the lines, just a little bit nervous. Bayern issued a definitive hands-off warning to Real Madrid, following reports that the Spanish giants were preparing a record-breaking move for Olise. The Bundesliga champions made it clear that their star winger is not for sale at any price, despite Florentino Perez's ambitious summer plans. Uli Hoeneß, the club's honorary president and its most vocal defender, went straight for Mourinho's jugular. When asked about the incoming Real Madrid boss showing up at the DFB Pokal final to watch Olise, Hoeneß didn't blink. He can cast 5 eyes on Olise, he won't get him. The Bayern honorary president declared, "He remains unsellable. I hope I don't run into him, because he could have saved himself the trip from Madrid." That's not just a rebuttal, that's a humiliation attempt. Hoeneß essentially told one of the most decorated managers in football history that his scouting mission was a waste of time. He didn't just slam the door, he laughed at the idea that the door even existed. Bayern president Herbert Hainer confirmed in an interview with German media outlet Abendzeitung that Real Madrid had contacted him about the Olise case. According to Hainer, Real Madrid said they have no contact with Olise and do not want constant media speculation. Hainer also insisted that Olise is not for sale and that Bayern does not want to sell him. Hoeneß had previously declared, "We have 430,000 members. We have millions of fans all over the world, and it doesn't help them much if we have 200 million euros in the bank, but play worse football every Saturday because of it." It's the kind of statement that sounds like absolute certainty, until you realize they're saying it at all. You don't make speeches about a player being unsellable, unless someone is actually trying to buy him. The noise from Munich reveals just how real the pressure from Madrid has become. The power brokers at Bayern are aware that Olise wants to speak, and there is a growing suspicion within the club that the player is being swayed by the intense speculation of recent weeks. While Bayern remain calm and point to the strength of his current contract, they are privately aware that the deal signed 2 years ago no longer reflects his current status. That's the crack in the fortress wall. Bayern can publicly state their position as many times as they want, but when even their own officials privately admit the contract no longer fits the player's current standing, that's not an impenetrable position, that's a negotiation waiting to happen. Club officials have reportedly been looking for a public gesture of loyalty from Olise, who has already won the Bundesliga twice, and the DFB Pokal and DFL Super Cup since moving to Germany, alongside individual honors as Bundesliga Rookie of the Season and Bundesliga Player of the Season. However, he has so far remained silent on his future. They want him to say publicly that he's staying, and he won't. The words haven't come. And in football, silence from a player whose club is desperately asking for loyalty, that silence has a meaning. Club officials expected Olise to openly declare his loyalty, but the player has preferred to remain silent for now. And this silence is fueling speculation about his desire to move to the Bernabeu. This could be a problem for Bayern, because everyone knows that dissatisfied players are not good players. An insider close to the situation noted, "I don't see the France international signing a new contract at Bayern in the near future." Bayern's fortress looks steel-plated from the outside, but the man inside has stopped singing its praises. This story doesn't start with Michael Olise. It starts with the collapse of Real Madrid's recent project, and Florentino Perez's determination to rebuild it into something his enemies cannot touch. Los Blancos endured a difficult campaign in both La Liga and the Champions League, losing La Liga to Barcelona and being eliminated by Bayern Munich in the semi-finals. The season cost Xabi Alonso his job, and the deal agreed with former boss Mourinho means it was set to cost Alvaro Arbeloa his role in the dugout too. Many fans called for a summer revamp, and the most important area to address was the attack, given that both Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. had been criticized by supporters. So Perez went back to a manager he'd worked with before. Mourinho previously managed Real from 2010 to 2013, winning La Liga and the Copa del Rey once each. That first stint was defined by fierce competition, iron discipline, and an almost warlike mentality that divided opinion but undeniably produced results. Real President Perez believes Mourinho's famously firm hand can restore discipline to the club's star-studded squad. Both Alonso and Arbeloa struggled to command the dressing room's big egos and ultimately failed. That context matters when you understand why Mourinho's personal backing of the Olise deal carries so much weight inside the Bernabeu. This isn't a manager being handed a list of targets and told to pick. This is Mourinho, the man Perez brought back specifically because of his authority, going to Berlin, watching Olise, and coming back to deliver his verdict. Behind the scenes, as Romano revealed, the intention of the Real Madrid president is to launch a record club bid of 150 million euros for Olise, because Florentino Perez is convinced that for the system Mourinho wants to use at Real Madrid, adding a player like Olise could be really important. And the bid that's reportedly being prepared, it doesn't just break club records. It threatens to break the entire market, in a move that would send shockwaves through the global football market. Real Madrid are allegedly readying a package for Olise that totals an incredible 223 million euros. According to Sport, the proposal consists of a fixed fee of 190 million euros complemented by 33 million euros in performance-related variables, a staggering sum that would surpass the 222 million euros PSG paid Barcelona for Neymar in 2017, making the Frenchman potentially the most expensive player in history. Read that again, the most expensive player in history. That's the level Perez and Mourinho are operating at. Multiple media reports have linked the Bayern Munich and France winger with a blockbuster move to the La Liga giants as Madrid look to build a new team for Mourinho. During the club's presidential election campaign, Perez denied that Olise was a target when he revealed plans for a 150 million euros bid, which the club later said had been for Atletico Madrid's Julian Alvarez. But the football world didn't buy it. They knew what the Perez playbook looks like. He never names names before the deal is done, he just drops numbers and lets the market connect the dots. The timing of these links is no coincidence. Coming off the back of Perez securing his re-election as Real Madrid president, he has historically used blockbuster signings to celebrate election victories and mark the beginning of new board cycles. During his victory speech, Perez outlined his vision for the club's continued dominance until 2030. The Galactico machine is back online, and Mourinho just told it exactly which player to target. Everything comes back to one man in the end, not Mourinho, not Perez, not Hoeneß. Michael Olise, the 24-year-old at the absolute peak of his powers, currently tearing through a World Cup in North America with France, holding the future of this entire saga in his own hands. The 24-year-old, who joined Bayern in the summer of 2024, from Crystal Palace on a contract running until 2029, has enjoyed a meteoric rise since moving to Bavaria. His representatives are now keen to understand where he fits into the club's long-term project after his stock reached an all-time high during the World Cup in North America. That phrase, where he fits into the long-term project, tells you everything. Those are the words of someone who is weighing his options, not of someone who has already decided to stay. A meeting is planned between the Bayern management and Olise, where he will communicate if he wants to leave. The Spanish journal notes that Bayern is concerned that Real Madrid or other clubs could attract Olise. According to the same report, Olise wants to inform Bayern of his intentions first, and will not create a difficult situation if he wishes to leave. That last part is crucial. He wants to do this cleanly. He's not engineering a falling out, not refusing to train, not leaking complaints through unnamed sources. He's going to sit down and tell Bayern the truth. That's the character of a player who knows his own worth and doesn't need chaos to get what he wants. Olise operates from the right side of attack and has also operated as a number 10, meaning he wouldn't cause Mourinho a selection headache. The Frenchman is also primarily a creator, meaning he would be less likely to take the spotlight from either Mbappe or Vinicius Jr. in front of goal. That's the tactical fit Mourinho identified from the stands in Berlin. Olise doesn't compete with the stars Madrid already has, he elevates them. He's the puzzle piece that turns a good attack into something genuinely frightening. The interest from the Santiago Bernabeu is not the only factor at play, as Olise is aware that several elite clubs are monitoring his situation. However, the lure of joining Mbappé in Madrid and becoming part of many fans' dream team may prove too enticing to ignore. Paris Saint-Germain are lining up a bid which could stretch to 180 million euros for Olise, which means, if this becomes an auction, Bayern might find themselves in an impossible position. You can publicly state a player is unsellable right up until someone tables a number. That makes selling him financially irresponsible not to consider. According to Latigo Serrano, Real Madrid president Florentino Perez is determined to sign Olise and is planning to make up to 3 bids for the Frenchman. An opening offer of 180 million euros is expected to be rejected, but Perez is prepared to keep going. He's done this before, he waited, he pushed, and eventually the fortress fell. Every player who seemed untouchable eventually moved. That's not cynicism, that's history. President Perez sees Olise as the perfect player to complete the Real Madrid attack. And Mourinho, the man Perez brought in to impose his will on a squad full of egos, has publicly co-signed that vision. What happens next depends on what Olise says when he finally sits down. With Bayern after the World Cup, according to Bild, Bayern has received positive signals from Olise's entourage that indicate the winger wishes to extend his contract in Bavaria, with negotiations expected to take place after the tournament. But those are signals from his entourage, filtered through a German newspaper, reported during a period when everyone involved has an interest in managing the story carefully. Olise himself hasn't said a word, and in this story, the person saying nothing is saying the most. Mourinho made his announcement. He told Real Madrid he wants Olise. He went to Germany to see it with his own eyes. He came back convinced. Now the ball is entirely at Olise's feet, and the whole world is watching to see which direction he moves. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.